I love it when they come and chat with me and we talk about their plans, because I'm not the person who says, no, I don't think that's going to work. I'm like, hey, I think we need to talk to this person. Or have you thought about this? Or like, let me break this down because I'm not in your area, but this is what I'm hearing. So am I hearing that right? And have we thought about it in this way? Those are the invigorating things about my job that I love doing. Let's figure out how we can get the most goodie out of this and how we can provide the best solutions.
Welcome to the Transfer Files, inside the world of federal innovation. This is your insider's look at how federal laboratories bring groundbreaking technologies to market. I'm your host, Andrea Nelson. In every episode, we'll bring you insights and expertise from throughout the world of tech transfer. What does it take to move a scientific discovery out of a federal lab and into the hands of the farmers, producers, and industries that need it most? That's exactly what today's guest has spent her career figuring out. Deana Jones is the director of the U.S. National Poultry Research Center within USDA's Agricultural Research Service, where she works at the cross-section of scientific discovery, public service, and real-world impact. In our conversation, Deana explains the role federal labs play in agricultural innovation, how partnerships and technology transfer bridge the gap between the bench and the marketplace, and what it actually takes to make that happen. We also talked about leadership, including what it looks like to champion research that serves producers, industry, and consumers, and how many disciplines and experts are involved in the process. Whether you're in a federal lab, industry, academia, or just curious, this one's for you. Let's get into it. Dr. Deana Jones, thank you so much for being here today.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's start off. You've built this career at the intersection of agricultural research, leadership, and technology transfer. So what first drew you into this field, and what has kept you engaged in this work over time?
So quite honestly, we're going to get in the Wayback Machine. I grew up, the predominance of my growing up, it was in a rural area of North Carolina. I grew up in town. I didn't live in the country. Some people would not necessarily see the distinction if you go to where I grew up, but I know the distinction. My grandparents were poultry farmers, and I would go out and help with things. I swore I was never going to be engaged with poultry whatsoever. And now you see what I do, see how far that proclamation made it. But I also was very, very involved in the 4-H program. I was a lifelong 4-H'er. And to me, it's very important to engage and be that intersection between science and agriculture, and the end user understanding how this can be helpful to them. It doesn't have to be science, doesn't have to be scary. The outcomes don't have to be voodoo that we don't understand. It does, so it's very important for me that stakeholders, whether it be U.S. consumers, whether it be agricultural leaders, whether it's actually the farmers, ranchers, and producers, whether it's people in allied industry, that they all understand that the products that we produce at the USDA Agricultural Research Service is for all of them. And they need to understand them and not be scared of them or not think that it's something that's too big for me or whatever. So that's always been my goal, is to make the scientific outcomes and understanding the scientific needs approachable for those end users.
And now you serve as the Center Director of the USDA Agricultural Research's U.S. National Poultry Research Center, as you mentioned. So tell us about your role as Center Director and the mission of the Poultry Research Center.
Well, number one, I think my first and prominent job is to be the number one cheerleader and champion of everything that's coming out of here. I'm real reserved in the process, as you can tell. I'm very passionate about it. I'm excited to share and help people understand what's being done here in our center and how it can help and what we can do further to help people. That's my great passion. To me, the excitement is delivering scientific solutions to American agriculture. And we happen to be focused on poultry, predominantly here at the U.S. National Poultry Research Center. We are one of the larger research centers within the Agricultural Research Service portfolio, and we have a distinct commodity focus of poultry. With that, we do look at new inventions and finding scientific solutions for poultry food safety, product quality and utilization, as well as feed safety, and then avian viral diseases, which includes endemic poultry viral diseases and also the exotic and emerging poultry viral diseases, which includes highly pathogenic avian influenza. So we have a broad portfolio of what we do. And then also slid in there, which always catches some people off guard, is we do some product quality and safety work for field crops or grains and nuts and stuff. And a lot of that intersection is a lot of those grains and the work that's being done are main components into poultry feeds. So inevitably, we're going to talk about peanuts, which people are like, why are you at the U.S. National Poultry Research Center going to talk about peanuts? And as I said in the Lab Director Forum, if you're engaged in the state of Georgia, you know there's 5 Ps. And the 5 Ps in the state of Georgia are poultry. We're the number 1 broiler producing state in the United States. So it's poultry, pecans, peanuts, pine, and peaches. So it's the 5 Ps. So we're knocking out multiple ones of them here by looking at some of the ground and tree nuts, as well as looking at our primary focus on the poultry commodities.
Interesting. Definitely some surprises in there. And further along that route, technology transfer in agriculture can look different from what people may picture in other sectors like energy or defense. So can you talk more about how tech transfer shows up in your work at NPRC?
Absolutely. Love to talk about this. So a lot of times for us, we have some great researchers here who do theoretical bench work, coming up with the next best idea. But we also have a lot of people who do applied poultry research. So this is how are we helping the poultry producers and processors and consumers and allied industry. And so we partner a lot with those. So some of our primary OTT activities here are material transfer agreements, material transfer research agreements, digital transfer agreements now as we start moving on to the digital age, and DTRAs, a digital technology research agreements or transfer research agreements. Those we do in partnership because we, like many of our researchers, we go to that next stage where we do the real world application. So we are partnering with poultry processors, poultry producers. We're sharing samples. We are going on site. And by doing these formal agreements, be honest with you, moons ago when my career started, we did a lot of things over a handshake, a dinner conversation, and we moved on with things. And now we're much more formalized. And that protects everything. It protects the technology that's being developed. It protects the industry and our other collaborative partners that we're working with. And it helps us make sure that we're good in line. We've got a plan for how we're going to do all this. We clearly define the expectations of our publication because that is very important for us to get that scientific information out. So those are actually our bread and butter of OTT agreements. Now we have patents coming out of here. We have licensures. We have CRADAs that come out of here. Those are all also very important, but we do a very, very heavy amount of those collaborative research agreements that we need to help come up with these real world solutions.
What is something about agricultural or poultry science that people would probably be surprised to learn?
The impact of it. People a lot of people don't realize how many people are engaged and have jobs in the poultry sector, how large the poultry sector and the allied industries work. They're used to seeing the meat and the eggs in the grocery store, but they're not necessarily thinking about how many egg products are in prepared baked goods that you buy, or in the bakery where you love to go, or that gelato shop down the road, or, a lot of that's what people sometimes lose the breadth of how far these things go and how far they're engaged. That's something that's we're engaged in every aspect, from hatching the birds all the way through processing the meat to get it to market or into further processed product, along with getting the eggs from the laying hens and also the further processing of those into egg products for various and sundry other applications. And so it's such a large and broad reaching spectrum, but a lot of people just think about the poultry meat they see at the grocery store, or maybe they think about those wings they're having while they're watching the game at a restaurant, or something like that. But they don't think about this whole big breadth and the stuff that's involved in it. And a lot of people will come back and go, you're doing food safety. You've got microbiologists. Yep, we have got a lot of microbiologists. We do. We've got a lot of those. But we have food technologists who are looking at how are we dealing with quality of these products? How are we functioning and how do we better process? We have process engineers. We have electrical engineers, and we have computer engineers, and all those who are developing sensors and looking at the utilization of artificial intelligence and how we can speed up and make poultry processing more efficient and safer and have a high quality product coming out. We have veterinary medical officers that are doing some of our avian viral disease research, but we also have animal physiologists and geneticists that are looking at how do those aspects play into having healthier birds and birds that are more resistant to endemic viral diseases. We have molecular biologists that are looking down at the structures of the meat fibers and helping to work with the geneticist on how do we ensure a high yielding animal that's in a safe environment and has high animal welfare, that we can produce poultry meat for U.S. consumers at an affordable price. So it's a really broad stretch of everything that we're looking at. We have plant physiologists here who are dealing with how do we have safe grains produced that we can therefore use for the feeds that are in there, and what happens if we have feed ingredients that have low level contaminations with natural occurring components from plants. What does that do to the bird, and how is that actually helping the bird, or is it causing detriment? So it's a really wide thing. People are kind of like, you got a lot of different groups that work there. Yes, we do. And that makes it interesting here. It makes it fun.
Yeah, always something different, and so many areas to dig into. And you touched on this in talking about the agreements that you use a lot, but can you talk more about the importance of relationships and trust building when you're working with producers and industry partners?
Oh, that's a great question. Trust and respect is the absolute building block for all of these stakeholder interactions to come up with real world solutions. And it takes time. People have to understand you can't expect that you're going to meet someone in the hallway at a meeting and you're going to shake hands about something and you're going to run off to the races and you're going to solve the next world's problem. There's a lot of trust and respect that has to be earned and shared. Forging those relationships, making sure you understand each other, what the needs are, listen with your listening ears and not your listening mouth, so that you can truly hear what they're saying to you and maybe what they're not saying to you. I mean, sometimes you have these conversations and the light bulb goes off, or you come back and you go, wait a minute. I'm hearing this. Is this something that's a problem, or have we considered this? And then working together on those to come up with solutions. It is very important for us in our applied research program that we are working with university and industry partners and allied industry partners so that we can provide plausible solutions that can be enacted. I mean, we can come up with the next best deal, but if it costs more money that would be insurmountable for the industry to apply it, that's not going to help us a lot. So we've got to have that feedback. And the industry knows a lot. They've been at it for a long time, and they've learned what works and what doesn't. So they can give you that feedback and go, we altered this years ago and things went to heck. You know what I mean? And then that helps us to know, well, we don't need to fudge it up again. You know what I mean? Like, let's pivot and talk through these things and work together. So having these conversational interactions, not always so much formal interactions, where you can honestly sit down like this and have a true conversation and know that if they share something with you about their process, you're going to be respectful of it. You're not going to turn around and go, hey, did you know that company X was doing this? I mean, like, that's not helping any of us here, but it's the way that we can forge those relationships and nurture them over the years. And then it also comes up, sometimes they'll come up to you and say, hey, I knew I was going to be seeing you this week. I was talking to the person over here who's making egg cartons. And, they said that they're seeing this problem. And I got to thinking, I'm going to see you next week, Dean. I'm going to bring it to your attention. And I'm sitting here going, I'm so glad you mentioned that to me. You know what I mean? Like it could be the next thing. I'm like, I know a guy. Let's put this together. So it's a lot of that interaction and forging it. You don't have to be the most outgoing person. I am a wee bit of an extrovert, but you can have and forge these relationships without having to be outgoing and bubbly and everything. You can still be honest and frank with these individuals and have great relationships down the road. And everyone's relationships develop at an individual pace. And you just have to keep them up. You got to remember the things about where their kids are and where their grandkids are and all that. I mean, that's the fun stuff. You know what I mean? So, it's not all just about, the brass tacks of everything, is truly a relationship building.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like, is it fair to say you kind of have to become someone that they're going to think of, that's going to pop into their head when they, just like the egg carton thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so like the whole thing too is to be able, like a lot of what builds trust and respect is that a stakeholder can come to you and say, hey, we're having a problem about feed delivery. Do you have somebody working on that? And my honest answer can be, not in my shop, but you give me a day or two and I'm going to find you the person. Like, I'm going to connect you. Being willing to say it's not always us, but I'm going to help you make that connection. That goes a long way also, because a lot of times people can have that tendency of, oh, I don't want them to be depending on someone else. I want them to only come to me. But having that, helping bridge connections, that actually brings up the level of respect and professional interaction. So it doesn't always have to be you. You can help sometimes forge that next connection for something else, because, you never know when the time may be that you're the person to help, and you've got the folks to do it.
That's a great point. And now kind of on the other side of the coin, from an internal standpoint, why has making technology transfer part of the culture at NPRC been so important to you? And how do you do that?
Well, number one, I'm me. So there's a personality component of this. I put out there these office hour times where I'll send a couple of times a year an email out to all my scientists. In fact, right now is a window of that time where I'm like, I'm going to have stakeholder meetings coming up soon. Look at my calendar, look at yours, put a meeting of no more than 30 minutes on there for you to come and meet with me face to face and tell me about your research. Tell me what's impactful, whatever. And inevitably, while we have those conversations, we start talking about next steps, and we start talking about where are they going next. And we immediately start planning the OTT aspect. The culture here with me is not to think of OTT after the fact. We think of OTT as we're developing things, because we can reach out to Tanaga and Carol, who are wonderful, who service us here. I'm totally going to throw their names out because they're awesome sauce. And I'm always like, you need to go ahead and start talking to Tanaga and Carol. And they may come back and say, this isn't when we need to do it, but this in the process is when you do. And so that scientist has got it right there on the front of their brain. So we're making sure we're ahead of the curve on looking at our OTT. If a scientist comes to me, I gave this example during the lab directors forum, someone comes to me and says, Deana, I really need a new super duper piece of this equipment. But I need you to help me pay for it, because that inevitably comes up. And I'm like, what you plan on doing with super duper piece of equipment? I need you to give me a research plan beyond just one research study. I want to know what you're thinking in short term, midterm, long term. What is our investment in this gonna help us get? And I said, you need to get that in writing to me. Like, think about it. And they'll send it to me, and I start reading it, and I immediately call them down. I'm like, okay, this is great. You're saying you're going to run samples with commercial samples from industry. Wonderful. As soon as you show me that you've talked to OTT and you've started getting that plan together, then I will provide you the funding to get this piece of equipment, because we don't need to be waiting to get the piece of equipment for several months, going through procurement and waiting for it to show up. And then we start and go, we're going to wait now several more months to get material transfer agreements in place so that we can do this high impact experiment. we're going to start those things in concert together. So by the time the equipment arrives, we are ready to rock and roll. We're knocking off months on our timeline for impact by taking that string, we're taking the steps in stereo as opposed to doing them in consecutive order. And so this is just the way I get people thinking about that. So now they're starting to get used to it. They know, like, don't go to see Deana unless you're ready to tell her about how you're going to need OTT. Like, it's going to come up, because we're protecting their wonderful thoughts and intellectual property. And we're trying to speed up and get out our solutions as fast as possible so that we're helping these farmers, ranchers, and producers.
Yeah, it makes total sense. But it is easier said than done. So, you deserve your flowers for building it into the system.
Well, we are. I mean, and it takes. Now, trust me, I got some people that we're having some deep discussions about this. Some people are slower to come on board, but it's important. And so, like, everybody knows, Deana's going to harp on you about this. Like, it's known, so they're all ready. But it's helping down the road. But I've also heard them tell each other, it really helped. And I don't look smug at all. I never look smug. That's all I'm going to tell you. I may think it behind the mask.
Yeah, keep it. That makes it even more potent when it's coming from a colleague and you're just playing it cool. Because
I'm small town Southern. I got this down pat.
So are there any recent technologies, partnerships, or projects that you think really showcase the impact NPRC is having?
I'm so excited you asked me this because we had a big event happen yesterday. So we're going to talk peanuts now.
Perfect.
Here's our peanut moment. We have two engineers here and research engineers here and staff that have developed a non-destructive in-shell peanut moisture meter. And this is a big deal because historically, the way that the USDA Agricultural Marketing Service does peanut moisture determinations is the peanut farmer drives up to the grading station. Oh, I hate y'all are on the podcast because you're missing. I'm totally doing motions with all this. I'm driving my truck right now. You need to know that. A sample is taken from their trailer, their big, huge transfer trailer. And then it goes into the lab. And when it's their turn for their samples, it's hand shelled to get all the peanut meat out, the kernels out. Then they go into drying ovens for traditional drying methods to determine the moisture. And so it can be days before the peanut farmer knows if their product is at, there's a sweet spot for the moisture for the peanut kernels. Don't ask me what it is. My guys know. They're great. But if it's not that sweet spot, then their product if it's too dry, then they may not get as much premium for their product. If it's too moist, then now the trailer is going to go off to a drying facility and they're going to have to pay someone to dry the peanuts that are on the trailer. So this is more days before and it's going to cost them more money for this peanuts, et cetera. So this takes a while for the farmer to find out what they're going to get paid for their peanuts. So here come Dr. Trabelsi and Dr. Lewis, and they've come up with this microwave technology where you do not have to wash or shell the peanuts. You take them right off of the trailer and you pop them into a machine that costs between $5,000 and $6,000, and you get the instant readings within 15 to 20 seconds. And the farmers know exactly where they are. And yesterday, the method was approved as a new standard by USDA Agriculture Marketing Service.
Wow. Congratulations.
And this is gone. I know. Is it also? I'm telling everyone about it. Aren't you? I'm so sorry you asked me today because you're going to hear all about it. I'm very excited. I'm very excited for our people. But I mean, this is a true thing from start to finish. And it's a real world solution for American peanut farmers. It's a game changer for them. And so this has gone through patent, licensing, CRADAs, and now we have this collaboratively developed commercial unit that is affordable, and it's now going to become the standard for USDA AMS for peanut grading. And it's so fast, and farmers get really quick information, and they know where they stand with their crops. And it's just a starting point. Trust me, they've already got their plans for where they're going next with this. And it's wonderful to see those real world solutions about peanuts coming out of the U.S. National Poultry Research Center. But it is wonderful to see this and how it's really impacted so many U.S. producers directly. For something so it's not simple, but it ended up being a very affordable option to give them much higher throughput for their materials and for them to get a more premium pay for their product. So it was wonderful. This is one of our great things. And we can talk about vaccines and because we've got a lot of other things going on too, and detection methods and all this, but that's my one that I'm really hanging on. My husband's tired of me talking about it. It's only been like a 36-hour window, and he's kind of like, I know you're excited, I'm like, I'm going to be excited another day. You're going to have to still, but I'm so excited for them, because there's a lot of effort. So I was going to listen to it for a little bit longer.
Good. As you should. And, I imagine, and you tell me if I'm off base here, but just like you were talking about how eggs, it's not just the eggs in the store, it's all those products that contain eggs. So I imagine this is probably good, not for just for the farmers, but for all the consumers.
Yes, because here's the whole thing. I think there's very few Americans who do not want the farmers to not get the most for their product. Mm-hmm. But that also means we're going to have higher quality peanuts entering into the food chain for peanuts, whether it's extracting peanut oils or it's making peanut butter, or if it's making, your peanut and chocolate candies, or if it's, for your roasted peanuts or all that. There's a lot of things that peanuts are in. And so it's just going to help with everything downstream to the consumers and what they're getting also.
Beautiful.
So it was wonderful.
It is very exciting.
And, they started with a demo. I tell people this all the time. They started with a demo unit, and they needed to go out and get real world people to know what it is. And they had it in the trunk of a government vehicle and drove around to peanut grading stations out in rural Georgia to get people to listen to them and talk to them to start off with. And that's really they put themselves out there and they went through this. And this is now come to something that's been game changing for the industry. So it's wonderful.
Wow, that is wonderful. Love to see that full lifespan. Now, you were recently named, of course, FLC's 2026 Laboratory Director of the Year, and congratulations again for that.
Thank you. It's such an honor. I'm still kind of freaked out that I was selected. But okay, yeah, it's a little surreal.
Well, what did that recognition mean to you?
And here's one of the things I really appreciate it. It's a great honor, but I know that it's recognition for all the hard work that's done by all the scientific and the support teams here at the center. So it's like, I'm gonna talk about my people all the time. You know what I mean? Because they're the ones who are doing this great research and coming up with these great ideas. I'm just the one nagging them about OTT the whole way through so that we can optimize that. You know what I mean? I'm the mom who's coming along. But it's just really great, and it's wonderful for this center. And I keep telling everyone here, this is the award for the center. I just happen to be the person who has to sign on the dotted line for everything, and I'm the person who gets stressed out if something goes wrong. You know what I mean? But it's just phenomenal that the hard work and effort of all of these great staff that's here is being showcased in this manner. I think it's wonderful.
Wonderful. Spoken like a true leader. Now, looking ahead, what areas of agricultural research and innovation are you most excited about right now?
Oh, there's always things. We're doing a lot of time to have a lot of really great things coming up about artificial intelligence in the processing paradigm within different aspects of poultry. I think that's going to help so much with us to be able to get more affordable protein, poultry protein products out to consumers. We have those going through, and those will be safer, higher quality products. That's always wonderful to see. We have a lot of work that's being done in diagnostic detection and mitigation strategies for avian viral diseases, which is something that's going to really, the faster we can detect avian viral diseases in flocks and the quicker we can mitigate those is going to help us with maintaining a stronger poultry footprint in the United States. And so those are things that people are spending a lot of great effort in. And in fact, all of these have some form of OTT agreement going on with them because we're not doing this in a vacuum. We're having partners, whether it's university or other collaborative research partners, or that we're working with industry representatives, or we're working with allied industry. And so that is just great to see and see what's coming up on the horizon, and where these people are going, listening to their plans. I love it when they come and chat with me and we talk about their plans, because I'm not the person who says, no, I don't think that's going to work. I'm like, hey, I think we need to talk to this person. Or have you thought about this? Or like, let me break this down because I'm not in your area, but this is what I'm hearing. So am I hearing that right? And have we thought about it in this way? So those are the invigorating things about my job that I love doing. Like let's figure out how we can get the most goodie out of this and how we can provide the best solutions.
From where you sit in your lab, in your agency, where do you see the biggest opportunities for federal labs to make an impact over the next several years?
Oh, gosh. I guess it depends on that's such an open-ended question, by the way.
It is.
I'm just saying. Why don't you say, tell me how to lasso the moon tonight? There's so many things that can come, and I can speak from us on the various and broad aspects of poultry that we're looking at, because, the DOW and, the DOE and, all that. I can't speak to what their programs are. I can think about us from USDA, finding and partnering so that we have real world applied solutions. It takes bench science, but integrating that in to streamline real world solutions is where the cutting edge is. We have to get those theoretical done and then have strong partnerships set up so that we can quickly deliver the solutions that can be applied. And having those infrastructures and those relationships in place is what's going to help us. We want to be able to compress the time it takes us from a novel discovery to a practical solution and application. And so how can we collapse that so that we're helping American agriculture?
What advice would you give for those who may be early in their tech transfer careers or who might not yet see themselves as part of the commercialization process?
Don't underestimate yourself. Don't underestimate relationships. Be the natty fly. I've been the natty fly for many years on different things, just annoying and buzzing people. Be the southern approachable natty fly. But, don't let people, if we're going to take a movie quote, don't put baby in the corner and dirty dance. You know what I mean? Like you can consistently and respectfully and professionally be there. And eventually, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're going to become having a seat at the table and showing how those solutions are. So if someone initially is kind of setting you down going, we don't need to talk to you yet, if you're the tech transfer professional, then figure out a new approach. Who do I need to go speak to next? Or just keep showing up and saying, hey, I think there's some opportunities here. Learn more about the work that you're servicing. Ask to go to unit or research group meetings. Ask just to sit there so you can listen. Because they may not even... Researchers are really great about having these big brain things. They really are. And they can also get lost in the minutia of their big brain things. It's a scientist thing, And sometimes it takes having a person who's not in their big brain minutia to come back and say, I see lots of opportunities here. And it could be stuff they're just literally never thinking about, So have those introductions. So as an OTT professional, say, hey, can I come and listen to, come to your next group meeting so I can hear about things? Or can I talk to some of your scientists and just hear what's going on and become informed? Because then you can offer opportunities that the research teams may not even realize. And for the younger researchers and stuff, understand, those of us that are seasoned individuals, we didn't necessarily come through with OTT was the first thing we thought about. And I raise my hand and tell people that all the time. I did not come through thinking OTT. If you look back at my research portfolio, the number of OTT agreements that I had in place is slim. I'm telling you, slim. There should have been much more. As a more seasoned individual looking back now, I'm like, oh my gosh, we should have had so many of these agreements, for different reasons. Mm-hmm. So getting the new generation to understand from the get-go that OTT comes in on the front, on the initial plans. and then getting the seasoned individuals to come along to the party and understand where they need to bring it in and how they need to be thinking about it, the better off it is. And you're going to have greater results about that.
Finally, is there anything else that you'd like our listeners to know about the work happening at NPRC or the broader role of agricultural innovation?
Don't underestimate us. We're feeding everybody. Don't forget that. We're feeding everybody and managing the land and, getting the crops in the field and looking after natural resources. And there's a lot of nuances and there's a lot of specializations that are involved in developing agricultural solutions that a lot of people don't think of. A lot of times they're thinking traditional land grant degrees, like for me, poultry science degrees, animal science degrees, crop science degrees. But there's a lot of nuanced stuff that's coming in now of the research engineering aspects and, looking at bringing in holistic teams. That's the other thing. Like, look at the whole problem. When we're doing agricultural research, we don't need to do it in a vacuum. Agricultural experiments can be at times expensive. Someone may be looking at ground crops, and that could be many years that they're doing that, and that land's going to be tied up. So you figure out everybody you can bring on board who can be monitoring things and getting all that. Like, heaven forbid, let's not waste this on just one or two research questions. Let's look as broad a spectrum as we can to provide as thorough of a picture. My many years I did, if you're at the farm, you know that my research career was in eggs and egg products. And for us to do a live bird study and producing eggs, we're going to do that for at least a year to 2 years. We're going to keep that flock in place because that's traditional for the industry. Well, I can't sit around and twiddle my thumbs and just do one thing for a year to 2 years. You know what I mean? And it costs a lot of money to take care of those birds and feed those birds and collect all those eggs and do all this other stuff for that period of time. So let's get the most goodie out of it. So forging very deep collaborative projects with university and industry partners meant that we're collecting as much information as possible on that flock of birds that we're maintaining for that long length of time. And that just provides the agricultural world a fuller breadth of information. It's not just myopic on, we were trying to figure out how many eggs they would produce. You know what I mean? We're looking at everything from what are the environmental impacts from them being there? How much water are they using? How much weight are they gaining? How much feed do we have to formulate for this? How, we're looking at how does the production environment change microbiologically as they're there for all time. We're looking at everything we can in these birds so that we're being good stewards of these research projects and the dollars that are put into them.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Dr. Deana Jones, thank you so much again today for your time and all your insight.
I'm happy to chat with you. It's still surreal that I got the Lab Director Award. I'm very, very appreciative of it. Kind of freaks me out. My mom's really excited. I just want you to know that. If nothing else, my mother is really, really excited. My husband is too, but my mother is really excited.
A huge thank you to Deana Jones for pulling back the curtain on federal agricultural research, technology transfer, and what leadership in this space really looks like. This was a genuinely delightful conversation. If you want to hear more about Deana, you're in luck. You'll be able to watch the full recording of the Lab Directors Forum, where she goes even deeper on agricultural research and leadership on the FLC Learning Center. It's a digital hub packed with educational resources and webinars open to anyone. All you need is a login, which is free to make. Visit federallabs.org, click FLC Education, and select FLC Learning Center in the drop-down menu. Thanks for listening and spreading the word about this podcast. Tell your friends and colleagues about the podcast and leave us a review and rating because that helps other people find us. Subscribe and listen to all of our episodes on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. Check the show notes or the episode page at federallabs.org for links to more resources and information. Thanks, as always, to our producer and digital marketing manager, Carly Dunow. Graphics Manager, Danny Batchelor. Web Content and Systems Manager, Jess Klein. And the FLC staff and community for your support. We'll see you back in 2 weeks on Transfer Files Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in to the Transfer Files, your insider's look at federal tech transfer. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay connected for more episodes exploring how hundreds of government laboratories and countless industry partners are driving innovations that shape our lives.